director information.
The Wi-Fi is down again. Did you know how to get it back last night? Oh, I don't understand, like, the computer says it has Wi-Fi, but the credit card machine says it doesn't. Okay. Oh, credit card.
So no adjustments to the agenda? Okay. And approve the September minutes. Did you guys all get a chance to look at the September?
I just had a minor thing, and it's where it's indicated that Mark did each item, and it actually is you.
Right.
You know, it's just minor.
Oh.
Um,
Because I didn't bring mine.
Control of the meeting was transferred. There's that section. Is it after that?
After that, if you look at like the 30.2, the header, the.
Oh, it has Mark's name on
30.3,
it and
yeah,
Mark's name on the,
like I said,
Okay.
just minor, but if we, you know.
yeah.
Get it right.
So-
Where
Here, I can give you this. I'll just, let me show you, like
Okay.
here, and you can have this one, Jeremy, to make your updates.
Oh, okay.
See,
The names
Yeah.
next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the only?
Guys,
other
I
one?
can print my, oh, I don't need it. There's just the minutes.
Yeah.
So Jeremy will make notes to get those adjusted.
and.
Thank you, Lori, for catching that.
I'm like that.
That's good.
I move that we approve the minutes of last month's meeting, September meeting,
A second
with that correction.
with that
Yeah.
correction.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
All right. So unfinished business, we have the board goals listed. I guess we can, since Lori wasn't here, we can catch her up just real quick. So Lori, this is the ideas document. None of this
Yes,
is in
okay.
stone. These are all just thoughts that we're throwing out. We had lots of conversation and there were lots of other things that Jeremy wrote down in some minutes that you'll be able to see later.
Sure.
It's a living document, so it can be changed. We're looking for ideas from everyone. Ultimately, ensure, obviously, the goal, ensure the long-term success of the pool. That's the most important thing. But we also need to make sure that the board is doing all the responsibilities that the board should be doing so that we have no, I don't know what the word is.
We do our part.
So we do our part. Yes, yes, the way that it's supposed to be. So that's what the board goals was about. I'll catch Mark up so that he'll know and I'll make sure he gets a copy. And like I said, this is not written in stone. It's very fluid and we can talk about it. And when we're ready to have something set in stone, we'll all vote on it. And that'll be how we make a decision because that's how we're supposed to make a decision.
Very
So Laura Lee has stepped out for a second. I'll let her talk about that when she comes back. So 40.1.
You might want to wait on the next.
Okay, do you want to talk about your training?
I could. I went to SDAO training, ethics training, which I really enjoyed. I got to meet the famous George and what's her name? Shana?
Shanta. Sorry,
Shanta. I kept calling her Shana. Shanta. It was very interesting. There will be new ethics training required, which you guys probably see because we all get the emails. So one good news, I'll start with the good news, is there is a U.S. House of Representatives have a new bill on the table to allow special districts to take advantage of federal funding. So whereas we were locked out of the COVID money, the infrastructure money, none of that applied to special districts. They're working hard to bring that about, and SDAO is all over it. So they're hoping to have an update soon, and that would be great because that opens a lot of doors. There's also recreational immunity now, which I think we might have all heard the story of going hiking, walking along the coast and somebody got hurt. I don't think it specifically relates to us because we are protected by the aquatic, but we are a Parks and Rec. So I talked to George, and in a general sense, we could have been at risk and probably were at risk if somebody tripped walking in the door or something.
So now if you don't even go to court, it's just you're immune.
And at least for a while, for 2 years, while they figure it out. So it's kind of a temporary phase. Yeah, it is really good. And it was a really great training and lots of conversations. That's one of the reasons I have so many questions. Questions about liability got answered, which we know we do. Kim found out we do have liability insurance.
The
as part of
board.
our policy.
The board has liability
The
insurance.
board does, yeah. Also, the treasurer role should be included on our board. Part of it would be to review the audit, bring that back to the board. The audits are for the board and the public and the state, so there's a lot of information in there. The treasurer would be in charge of communicating that back to the board, leading discussions on it and answering questions and taking them back. Some interesting discussions about budget change between reserved and non-reserved. That we can do resolutions, we can do, and you guys may know this, but you can make budget changes within 10% of the total value of the budget without going back to the public. You can do it by resolution. I don't know if you've done that in the past, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But really good training, really good training.
And you mentioned that we get 8 hours.
We get 8 hours a year consulting time, and Shanta did not think we had used it this year, so it was something Lori was gonna poke at. And if we were to be interested, I'm interested in maybe doing like a board retreat, which would basically be us and maybe George or someone else in the conversation. We could put this year's date with next year's date, and they won't care if it's not
Well, if we
exact.
have 8 hours, that's a whole day anyway. So
Yeah, but we
unless
could
we're gonna
do 2
do-
days.
Oh, 2 days.
Yeah, if we wanted to, or we could separate them.
What are these hours?
Sort of our SDAO relationship, we get.
And then like they come down to us as
Yeah.
part of our event? Okay.
Well, like Bob,
Yeah.
Bob came
Like
and
the
did
time,
that
yeah.
for
The last
training.
one, you like the thing you set up.
Yeah.
Was that last year?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I
Was,
mean-
was it last year or early this year? I
I think it
can't
was
remember.
yeah, it was either December or it was January.
but
You
she
guys
thought it
started
was
last
the
year.
23 hours.
Yes.
And so it was a few months into that.
So you think
If
the
I
end of
remember.
23
I do. think.
But
Yeah.
Shanta thought we were using the 2023
for them
hours.
anyway.
So
Yeah.
she thinks
Okay.
we have a day, an extra day.
Okay.
Which is nice, it's nice. And they know their business, it's interesting. What it revealed to me when I asked the question is how do we get reimbursed? It like turns out we don't have a form or a process, so that's something we could work on. I don't know if I just bring you a receipt.
Yeah, no, I have a form, you
Oh,
can,
okay, good.
yeah.
But the board doesn't, right? I don't know if we need one. I
Well,
guess
if
if
we
we have a
do a treasurer,
treasurer, we
can
would,
have a
thank you.
process.
That's what we were told in training. You give it to your treasurer, who then works with the executive director, and then you use whatever process you have.
Cause I mean, I have a form, so I
Right.
can give you the form.
Yeah, that'd be great. We could use it too. That part's fine. But he was very clear, as was Shanta, that we should, as a board, have these processes in place. And we'll learn as we
And
go.
our policy says we have
Yeah,
a treasurer and a secretary, so I
Yeah,
just think
so
that
we
it's
just
the
follow
most
it.
appropriate to follow our own policy.
right. And we can combine, I did ask, we can combine secretary treasurer. That's really just a choice, but we need to cover both roles.
Okay. All right, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
All right,
that's
let's
great.
go backwards. Laura Lee, 40.1, head coach swim to add head coach to swim club checking account.
Yes, so Christina Argo is our head coach for the swim club.
Thank you for that.
It had been Jim for years and then, so now she's the head coach. And so I want in the minutes, for her to be officially added to the club checking account.
And can I ask when a swim coach would need to write a check?
Well, it's not so much write a check as it is like use the credit card and pay for meet fees. when they're, that's the main thing, is paying for meet fees. So,
Who is all on that account now?
me and Jim, but Jim's no longer on the,
Oh, so he
He's-
had been.
it just was me and Jim, so then it would be me and Christina. And then for Christina and another woman that's becoming a head coach, she's not fully certified yet, Amber. They just got back from a conference, so they went to a coaching clinic on the East Coast and got to listen to all kinds of cool coaches, like well-known, famous coaches. So, yeah, and so they use the credit card, it's the debit card, the club's card for their meals, and then just turned in all receipts, so.
I think, one thing that might at least confuse me is learning that the swim club is really a board-run swim club, I think is how you described it.
This pool's run swim club. They
So
have
it's
a,
district run,
Mhm.
is that the best way to put it?
yeah, it's a district run, but they have a parent kind of advisory board.
That only deals with the district, not the.
Well, they only pretty much deal with me.
Is that how you would want it set up versus a board?
Well, I mean, if down the road, our goal is to have the club be an autonomous organization, then they would just rent pool space from us, or, you know. So,
I think I'm on the fence on that, because I think if we could grow the club and turn revenue from it, I just was under the impression that the board was running it, so I didn't know why we wouldn't add the board members to the checking account
yeah,
versus
they're not,
employees.
they're not.
So Christina would be added as a
She's-
employee of the
She's,
swim
well,
club?
she is an employee of the district.
Happens to be, right.
Yeah,
But what if it were a parent? Is
Well-
that role ever filled by a non-employee of the
No.
district?
no, not to have access to our money.
Right, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no. I mean, down the road, if the club branched out and was their own
They don't get
autonomous.
their own bank.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But if we, to our point earlier, if we have a treasurer, wouldn't the
Yeah, I
treasurer
would
need
have
to
thought-
interact with the club or with Laura Lee about the club also, so
I-
that we?
That's exactly why I'm asking, because I don't know why it would be kept separate if it's a line item on our budget.
Well, it's, if you look at the budget book, it's their own special fund. It's
Right.
special fund 300. And because we don't want like commingling of like the general fund and the swim club, now the general fund does pay for coaching because
Right.
that's what that negative number is on the balance sheet. Because the club is not always fully solvent, so you say. And so then the general fund kicks in when they need help, basically.
Which happened recently.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I would have to think my way through how much actual separation there is if those dollars are truly in our budget book, which they are.
Well, but they're in a special fund. They're in their own special fund. So it's just like having a reserve fund. I know the city of Lebanon has special funds.
Right.
And so then it's just a better way to kind of keep track of it without,
Well, I
You
totally
know,
agree with that,
yeah.
but I don't think that the financial director of the city of Lebanon wouldn't have access to that.
well, no, I'm not saying that, I mean, certainly I have access to that. I mean, as the director
Right.
and, and the, you know,
Is that the only funds that only you have access to that the board does not?
no, the board doesn't have access to the general fund. I mean, you guys see everything, but, I mean,
It's interesting, and like I said,
you're
I'm still
account
learning.
signers, but,
We're account owners according to.
well,
SBAO.
yeah, well, yes, according to the bank, I mean,
No, I mean, SDAO is saying, when I asked that question, SDAO said, well, of course, the board owns the account and the district director is may or may
Right.
not be on the account. Because the board treasurer is the one who would work with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's a little backwards.
Okay, well, anyways, getting back to,
So
I-
I would hesitate to approve your request because I don't understand the difference between why we would keep only one reserve fund separate. One special fund.
well, we have two. We have a reserve fund, that's the normal reserve fund that we're putting excess money into, the hope that we can add on to it. And then Gus was the one that created the special fund for the swim club.
Yeah.
So that it's its own separate budget. So then it's easier because then money that's coming in for the swim team goes into that account. And then money that's spent goes out of that account. I mean, it's just easier to keep track of it.
Right, right.
It's
I
like having a
understand from the
separate
logic.
ledger,
Right.
you know, instead of having everything under one big giant thing. But we could have money coming in and out of the reserve fund. I mean, if we actually got to the point where we were gonna spend money out of it,
Do work.
we
yeah.
could, you know, so. But, I mean, just going back to, like, I need to have the head coach be able to write a check because, you know, our swim meets are over the weekends. And if I'm gone on a Friday
Right.
and Jill's not on that account and she's getting ready to go to a swim meet and has to pay our club's like
Sure.
meet fees, she's gotta be able to sign that check. So right now, you know, since Jim's no longer associated with the club and I'm the only one, if I'm not available, then she's kind of up the creek.
No, and I understand the logic. I'm just stuck in the big picture. So that's a separate, is that also people's thing?
Mhm.
But a separate account.
Yeah, and it's on the balance sheet.
Yeah.
And
You
I,
guys have questions? I don't mean to be
Yeah,
meddling.
I don't think I really have any strong opinions one way or the other. I think there's good arguments for both. The only reason not to add her is if for STO AO purposes, we need some sort of an extra security measure, but then Laura Lee brings up, I mean,
Yeah.
convenience, and we can't want her to spend her own money all the time on these things. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
a credit card, how would you solve that particular problem? So I mean, I don't really have a strong opinion, but you've been digging into this more than I have, so.
No, I just don't know that it's, I may not have asked the question the right way either. Do you think the treasurer should have, do you see a problem with the treasurer being on that account also?
no,
Okay, so maybe that's our compromise, right? Don't have to have the whole board because we don't all need to be on there. But if the treasurer then representing the board has visibility into that account, I think that's fine.
well, I mean, and they do now. I mean, you all do,
After the fact.
but
Right.
well. and
Yeah,
it-
I mean, that's just the logic of. right.
Yeah, but I mean, when you come in to sign checks and, you know, when I'm paying bills, I mean, you're able to look through that.
One solution, I'm gonna be really terrible with my notes this time. One solution we could potentially do is, we've done it this way for a very long time. So as we're working on figuring out the rules
Mhm.
and a better solution that matches whatever you're learning.
Yeah.
We continue doing it until we have a better solution to propose to switch over to.
Yeah, and it might be perfectly fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just trying to understand. Okay. So you would potentially add 2 people and take Jim off. And add the
Well, I'm
treasurer.
already on there, but so for right now, I mean.
Well, you'd add Amber at some point, Amber.
Well, no, I mean, I have, the assistant coaches don't need to be on there. So it's just the director and the head coach.
Oh, okay.
So like before, it was Jim
You
and it
just
was
mentioned-
me.
You just mentioned Amber because she
Yeah,
went to
she
training.
went to that
Sorry.
training, but yeah,
Okay, so Christina and the treasurer.
yes.
Okay.
Well,
good with
and
that.
the director. It's just.
Well, yes,
You're
I'm not
already
leaving
there.
you
Do we
off,
know
yeah,
who the treasurer is?
when we establish.
We're gonna
the
do
treasurer.
that today.
Yeah.
So, let's,
So
we
who-
can-
Just for clarification, Laura Lee. When we do this, who are we proposing? You're adding 2 people, removing 1?
Yes. So if somebody could make a motion that says that, you know, that we make a motion to add Christina Argo, the club head coach, to the club's checking account.
Yes.
And the director and this new board treasurer, and remove Jim Knopf.
those are the notes you need in the minutes so that
Mhm.
the,
Yeah,
You got all that? Cause I
So
could do
I
half of that.
move that everything Laura Lee said.
I was gonna say, that was my
Who
problem.
are we removing, Jim Argyle?
Add,
No,
add
or
Jim-
was he-
add Christina Argo
KNAUP.
and
That's Jim's last name.
add the treasurer to be determined yet.
Or we would
Remove-
just add board treasurer. 'Cause
Yeah,
it
we'll
could
have to
change.
add, we're gonna have to add, Jeremy's gonna have to go back and amend.
Mhm.
We're gonna say treasurer to be determined, and then Jeremy will have to amend, because when we talked about the treasurer
I just meant,
tonight.
do we need a name? Because it'll change
But
from
she
year to
needs
year.
a name to
We
take it to
will.
the bank.
Oh,
And
to
the
the bank.
bank is so
Sorry,
awful
got it, got it, got it.
that if she
Okay.
doesn't put
Got it.
something in there, they won't even talk to her.
Right, right, right. No,
Okay.
good point.
So
Okay,
adding Christina Argo and the treasurer from the board to be determined, and removing Jim Knopf on the swim team, checking account money. There, that's my motion.
Second,
all right, so we have a motion and a second to add Christina and the treasurer and to remove Jim from the swim club checking account. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Sure, yes.
He's trying to multitask.
Trying to type.
All right, so passes.
And thank you.
Yes. Okay, do we have an official social media policy?
We have, there's a small blurb about social media in the employee manual.
Okay. I don't know how many of you saw it. But there was a recent parent issue, and he decided to take his issue to the Buzz to complain. And there was a lot of comments. There were comments from the person that he complained about. There was comments from other staff. And though I thought the person who the complaint was about handled her reply very well, I just don't know how helpful it is to argue with the public. And part of the thing that I noticed the most in those comments that I really struggled with is how many people recommended going somewhere else instead of coming here.
Mhm.
It was if you read the AI thing that they put at the top now on discussions, the overall thing was you should go somewhere else. This isn't a good place to go. So I'm
Really?
wondering,
Well,
I'm
yeah, regardless of
wondering,
the content, it was just such negativity.
it was. And so I'm wondering if we need to have a separate social media policy.
Not to say that anyone from here lit it on fire. It was well underway, right?
No,
But just,
absolutely.
as Laura Lee did, just to not participate, I don't know if it's better or worse to participate, but I think silence is golden in a lot of cases.
I struggled a little bit with that because so many people tagged you. And
I
even,
reached out to the person.
I know.
On Messenger,
right,
and I called him. And I sent him a letter.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm not gonna get into because I'm sorry, but the Buzz
Yeah.
is, in a lot of cases.
The worst possible
It-
example.
Yes, it just brings
It
out
is.
the worst in this town. I mean, you could say something about a local eating establishment and then everybody comes out of the woodwork, and so, I mean,
It's kind of a just don't answer, to my.
Yeah.
thinking.
I mean, I think we'd probably, a social media policy is still probably a good idea, but I mean,
I don't think it would say much more than don't engage.
Actually, that would be
Well-
a really good idea to support the director for specific actions.
absolutely. Because there was a comment about what someone said, maybe you should go and talk to the so-called board. So even, the disparagement went
Yeah, Every
everywhere,
direction.
everywhere.
well,
And
and
so,
I was gonna touch on this in my director's report, but I can do it now, because it won't take very long, but honestly, it was kind of I understand that the person was frustrated, and I get that, but It just could have been handled so much more easily and quickly, you know, yeah. And so, okay, this is the warrior card that the individual brought in. And if you see down here, it says London Community Pool, and it says 1 free family swim, okay? So in this, now, what does that mean to you? Robert, you swim at the pool? If you came and brought me 1 free family swim, what does that mean to you? I mean, it could-
Swim once.
it could mean 1 person in my family gets in free, or
Yeah.
in this
My
person's
Their
idea,
version,
I-
the whole
they-
family.
I would have went with that.
they think a whole family got it free, okay? So the wording is not clear, okay?
And we don't sell a family swim, do we?
We do, but it's the same price as just 4 individuals.
Well, which was pointed out in there too.
Right, okay, and I'll get to that. Okay, so because of COVID, we had, we were shut down and then opened back up and then shut down. Well, when we were opened back up and could do rec swims again, we couldn't just do rec swims to the public. Okay, you had to come and swim in your own little family pods. So because of COVID, we changed our rec swim to be called family swim. And then your family unit could come and we only had so many come, okay? So when the language for this warrior, we've been doing this warrior card since, I don't even know, like the last probably 15 years, okay? But I can tell you that the family swim language came out of the COVID time, okay? And well, so then we had these that say 1 free admission to family swim. Well, that to
Now
me is
that's-
more clear.
Yeah.
It just means 1 of your individual out of your party is gonna get in free.
I still wouldn't think that from that card.
Okay, but 1 free,
Admission to family swim, which would be
Yeah,
the
but-
whole family.
but family swim again, back in COVID, was the actual thing, not a separate price.
It's the name of. a-
Okay, and again, these are outdated, but are they
Right.
still floating around? Yes. Now, the new ones say 1 free admission to rec swim.
And how do those are like handouts at
Yeah,
events?
I mean, we give these out to the swim lesson kids.
So then
Nice.
we're gonna update the warrior card to match the one for the family swim.
Right, yeah, the thing is like, you know, they're rule followers, you guys. I mean, they're trying to save lives, right? I mean, you can't just go off the reservation because you don't feel it, right? It's all by the book. That's what we train to do, okay? So, I mean, God bless them that they're like that because they're gonna save you when the chips are down. But then when you have somebody that comes to the window and they're like, no, my whole family should get in free because it says family swim. And then I've got my rule follower guards who are like, no, that it should only be 1. I mean, if I was behind the counter, I'd be like, sure, come on, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like I'd soon make somebody happy and
Yeah.
not worry about it. But then you have guards that, you know, they don't really feel like, well, I can just change the price or I can just let people in. I mean,
Which is probably a good thing too.
right. And
Right.
so, you know what I mean? Like, I'm all about customer service, but for a younger person, you know, they're just trying to do their job. They're just trying to follow the rules and do what they're trained to do.
And it's their first job.
Yeah, and these warrior cards are kind of rare, okay? Like, I would bet that if I pulled all my 17 lifeguards, I bet maybe 2 of them have actually seen a warrior card. They're not that prolific. Now, they've seen these all the time, but these, everybody just has got it in their mind. It's 1 free admission. It's not a whole group, it's not a whole family of 4, it's just 1.
Right.
So anyways, I told my staff, I have this sign up on the wall and I'm like, look, if somebody comes in and is reading it for a family of 4, let them in.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. So anyways, but I am gonna make sure that next year's warrior card,
Who makes them?
it's the high school.
I mean, I'm just curious, who benefits from that? Is it
What's a high school
team or-
fundraising thing? No, it's like LHS. I don't know. It's for their sports
Yeah, I just-
program.
I bought them before and I just always like,
Yeah.
this kid's not associated with anything, but.
Yeah, so anyways, it's just, it was just semantics.
Yeah.
But I reached out to the individual. I mailed him some of these and was like, hey, come swimming again, sorry,
I think more worrisome was just like you said, the trend immediately shifted to go somewhere else, go to the Y, go to Albany.
well,
go to
but some of that
Corvallis.
is the buzz. It's
It
just,
is,
it's the
it is.
buzz,
It is.
so.
All right, so what do you say if I just put a note, as we start looking at policy review, we look at the section in the employee manual
Just
and
look at it,
and
and get
decide
Lori's
if we want
help to either tighten it up or toughen it up.
or decide if we want to
Simplify
take it separate or something
Mhm.
like that. Okay, we could do that.
What do you, when you hire somebody, do you address it at all, or?
Well, I mean, it's just, again, like the personnel manual has a thing about, like electronic communication and social media. And it basically, it's referring to if you're on the pool's social media account, then, you're not, you're not gonna talk about inappropriate stuff or, you know what I mean? Like, because you're representing the pool.
Right.
And like, frankly, like, I mean, I am on Facebook, but I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on any of those other things, TikTok, none of that. And so like, I am not monitoring what all my staff, I mean, they're all on that stuff, I'm sure they are, right? So, they could say something, whatever they want on their own page, and maybe they say something about the pool, I don't know.
I
But
don't know how you do it.
I don't wanna police that.
No,
You
but if
know.
I ever said something about my company on my own social media page, I would be fired. So,
I mean,
It's
I
like-
share stuff on my personal page, like when we send out blurbs about, oh, sign up now, or like our Splash for Cash fundraiser thing, I shared that, like every time it popped up, I'd share it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's about all I do, but,
That would be good for your policy though, to look into some of those ideas, both for the director and the employees, what would be appropriate responses in terms of work-related content online.
now that staff member that came in, or that was there when this all went down, like she came, it happened on a Saturday, by the way. And Monday morning or Monday afternoon, right after school, she was in my office in tears. And I told her, I told her she didn't do anything wrong. And, but, I mean, sorry.
It's tough.
And I told her not to respond to the gentleman. I'm like, just ignore it. Well, then, a day or two later, then she did, because sadly that thread just, it
It
went.
never stopped.
Yeah. So anyways, and I did go back and read her post,
It's fine.
yeah, it was fine. But
Yeah, she didn't do anything wrong.
she-
I just think in these cases, you just don't engage.
all right, Miss Lori, you want to talk about the fundraising committee?
Sure. As you know, I've been on a leave of absence, and but the fundraiser committee means a lot to me, to the pool, and we need to press forward, okay? Okay, so right at the moment, an issue that we have is we now have 3 board members
I
on the
won't
committee.
volunteer to remove myself.
Oh,
I think you and Donna are far more qualified in that area than I am.
Well, thank you.
So when the board authorized the fundraiser committee, it was exactly 1 year ago. We did it in October. And now, for what I'm about to speak of, I had called Bob Kiefer about the tickly situation that we have 3 on, and you're very nice to volunteer off.
No more work,
I
that sounds
was
so nice.
sweating. Anyway, Bob recommended that, in general anyway, that we, well, we can reauthorize the board with, I don't mean the board, the committee. I'd like us to reauthorize it with a vote. A year ago, we named the names on the committee. We named Jeremy, we named me, and we named others. He recommended that we authorize the fundraising committee, but we don't name the names of who leads, who's on. That may change. And in fact, I've always felt like it's a good idea for the fundraiser committee to have some say in who leads them. Now, I've been the best leader for a while. If I don't say so myself. And I like that, but I like the idea of the fluidity. I'd like us to authorize the fundraiser committee again for the future and leave the names off. Now, when I think, Jeremy, you're not gonna come to those meetings since you volunteered to be off,
I
right?
couldn't go anyway, that would give us a quorum.
Yes, that's right, and I appreciate that. So no matter what, no matter how many committee members we end up with, we must be aware of our quorum, following the public meeting rules, so that and the minimum quorum is 3. So if less than 3 of us met, we could, and make decisions, it wouldn't be right, but thinking back on our meetings, we never had less than 3. We always did have a quorum. So,
For the public meeting?
for the fundraiser committee meetings.
Darla wasn't on the board, so. it
Pardon
wasn't- But Darla was not on the board at the time, so. it was
No,
not-
I'm speaking of in general, I'm saying in general, like Robert came to a meeting, he's not on the board, but say there was a meeting with Robert and me and nobody else showed up. So
That wouldn't matter.
that, yeah, we could still meet, but he pointed out that, in general, the committee itself needs to follow the rules of a quorum of who's our committee members. So that's something just to keep in mind. And I would like to see our committee grow. And Darla, you'll
Oh, yeah,
still
I'd be
help.
happy to, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to be done. And I had come at some point to feel, especially with needing my leave, there's so much to be done. And we really need the help. And so moving forward, I want to use the resources of the people on the committee more. And why I say I'd like to grow it is because there's so much to do.
Yeah, and maybe,
We have so many avenues to follow. And
yeah, and maybe divide it
Just
up a
wanna-
little bit.
yes.
Yeah, give everybody a, whatever, an event or a topic.
Yes.
I like
Yes.
it, I do think that we should name names though, for you and Darla, it just, I don't know, I've never heard of a committee being established without, especially the leaders being named.
So I want to I just want to add my own 2 cents.
Sure.
I've been looking at
I knew
the
that,
Friends of the Malala Pool.
Yeah.
They have their own board. They are clearly an individual entity. They don't run their ideas past the, the board like this. They come, one person, I think, representative comes to the meeting once a month.
Yeah.
Says the things they're doing. The board doesn't approve it. They do their own events and then they give the money to the board.
It's like Friends of the Library.
Right, so they don't, so I saw in some minutes that they had a school dance.
Yeah.
Like a father-daughter dance.
Yeah.
We didn't, I say we, the Molalla board didn't have to do anything to approve that. It was completely a separate kind of thing.
Well, that would smooth out operations. It,
That's what we wanna do, but we need the money to pay for the 501c3. It doesn't. We've got to work around that, so our third hurdle is.
Don't we have the money from the last fundraiser?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you should be able to use a
That-
portion of that money.
You guys, the board would have to approve the funds for
That-
us to pay
yeah.
a lawyer to have a separate 501c3.
I would be very careful with that, only in that then you lose all your shared services, you lose your banking, right? So you have to establish all of that. You have to have your own board of directors, you have IRS tax ramifications.
there, yeah,
So I mean, it's not that it's impossible, and the Malala Pool or Friends of the I don't know them, but Friends of the Library, you know, you can do all these things. I just don't know that you benefit a lot. Maybe you get to some donations that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise, 501c3 donations. It's just you have to have a very dedicated crew, and it wouldn't necessarily
Right.
be.
and I know that we have some seriously dedicated people. Do we have
Is
enough? I've heard, go ahead.
Friends of the Library, are they a 501c3
You know, I've asked that question. I think they might be
or just,
intended to be. I'm not sure that they officially are.
do we know if the Malala one is?
I'm not sure they
Yes,
are. You
I think they are. They have their own board.
Very
So,
much different group, they've grown a little more too.
Yeah,
They
they
have.
probably are. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, you could call yourself a board. There's no, the only thing you miss out with 501c3 is the donations. Somebody wants a tax write-off, but the pool can already give a tax write-off,
right.
so.
So so I guess my question is, do we even have to authorize a committee? Can a group of citizens do whatever they want and
Yeah.
call themselves friends of the pool and
Yeah.
have,
And
nothing
Rose
to
has
do
said
with
that
us.
before, but
Yet
you
they-
lose, but then how do you handle it when you do Splash for Cash? Then is the pool donating to that organization, water time and lifeguarding?
Well, that's
If you-
what we did for the Splash for Cash.
Right, but you did it within the home group, right? It all was to benefit and the
That's
board
money, is that
agreed.
just in our general checking account at the moment?
Yeah, it just got, well, I mean, it earmarked toward PEP.
Right.
Pool expansion project.
But we can't touch that, right?
Well, you can, as long as it's for that item.
So if we wanted to authorize that money for advertising or basically reallocate it back to the committee, we could do that.
some money, not that money.
Yeah.
That money's
Yeah, not
now
that money.
stuck. But we have
But
other money
we
in the
have-
general fund.
We have money for legal expenses. We have money, I mean, we have all of that in our
Okay,
budget.
So how would you feel about having an independent 501c3 that would show up with bags of money? I mean, it doesn't sound
Well,
bad, as
I
long
mean-
as we don't pay attention to what they're doing.
Right.
Well-
Maybe that's an advantage.
I mean, there's plus and minuses either way,
Right.
right? Because, I mean, you guys were very successful, you know, you wanted to do that, what, 10 grand or 5 or 6,000 is what you thought, and you ended up doing what, 13,000? So, I mean, you know, it was this group that did this great event and came up with a nice little tidy sum. So, I mean, we can still do that, you know?
Lori, how would you feel about reaching out to the Malala Friends of the
Sure.
Pool to ask them just kind of the structure and
So I would comment, I looked when you mentioned them before, there's no board membership there, there's no board directors.
Oh, really?
So
Then
they're
not
not
a 501c3. then.
no, from the pool. So you'd have to only
Oh.
wonder, is there any conflict?
Oh, there's no board members on the other one.
Sorry, yeah,
But they do have a representative come monthly
because
from,
they're an independent group,
right,
they're off doing their thing. but
Right.
There's no Malala, there would be no board member from this board serving on that board.
right. They couldn't be on the board, but they could still participate, I believe, in the,
I
as
guess,
a
as a citizen.
citizen,
Right.
yes. So at least it would be worth checking, because maybe they could say, well, you know, it took 10 years to get here, and we didn't ever really need to be a 501c3.
Yeah, that's
You know,
my
or-
question, is what do you
So-
really get out of it?
But they could maybe, since they've already been through
Yeah, that's a good idea.
been through it.
My
just
only
maybe-
experience has been negative, so I'll just own up to that, you know. Boards that didn't pay taxes, that then got in trouble with the IRS, that's happened a few different groups in town.
Yes, it has.
And,
I saw it on the buzz.
yeah, exactly, so you must know. Yeah.
And I know of some youth sports ones that,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's one of the ones.
That's one of them.
That's on your short list.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's like,
So-
whew, like, I will
So-
say, I'm not
But-
signing up to
Yeah.
be
But
on a
let's-
501c3 board.
Right,
No.
but, no, not us. But I'm saying, maybe she'll find out that they're not, but that they completely function autonomously.
Yeah.
And are able to do what they do, and,
And I'm sure there's people who could do it beautifully.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying, that she could probably check, just get some feedback from someone who's doing it.
But there'd be no reason to talk to us about it.
Well, unless we're
Afterwards,
gonna give them some money to get started on it.
I
right,
was gonna say,
But
I mean,
why
that seems like that's where the committee
only
comes in.
because they've already done the one fundraiser.
Why would we do that? Because then this board isn't.
You're saying they would do another fundraiser to raise the money they need. So, but I think
A
it'll
little
be interesting to know, are they committed? I mean, they're called the Friends of the Pool. What makes it that they couldn't donate money to someone else? What is that connection? Those are just things that we don't know. So I think information gathering is always a good.
And I have no
Yeah.
idea how much it costs to start a 501c3.
There's the paper file, we looked into it, it's probably gonna be around 500 to 1,000, because there's the, you have to have an attorney file the paperwork. And then you have to have that same attorney needs to look over the bylaws to make sure everything's in order. And then I'm not sure if you have to post something about it in the newspaper. That was
Probably.
with LLCs in some states, but there's something, you know, that little piece, but I mean,
Do we know the taxes part? Pardon?
well,
You
you're
could
gonna
get
have
a
to pay.
tax ID and pay
Well, the
something,
tax
somebody.
number from the IRS is free,
Right.
but that usually goes in with the filing, like, when we, ultimately, what I would say is like, let's get a lawyer to look over the bylaws, make sure everything's copacetic, make sure everything's really clear in the bylaws, that, you know, like, we're fundraising money and this goes there, but we take what operating costs off the top, operating costs being like advertising, number one, and number two, paying the CPA to do the tax filing every year, that kind of thing, so that would come off the top of it. And then you can do something like this Rocket Lawyer, and, you know, like create a 501c3, and it's just step by step, walks you through the process, walks you through, and it's cheaper, I mean, because it's just a set process, you know, it's
Right.
just, you know,
Cookie cutter.
step here, put your foot here, and do this with your finger, and jump up and down, and they'll give us your right arm, and off you go, kind of thing. So that's what I would push for, but where we were hitting the hurdle was a lawyer, was the finances for a lawyer to go through the bylaws and make sure everything is really clear.
And it's awkward because, right, you're telling people donate to this event because we're gonna give this money to the pool. But first, we're going to use some of the money for this other thing.
They don't usually tell that part.
Well, that's all I'm saying
So-
is, I don't know. how
That's
you-
in the fine print.
Yeah, yeah.
Lori, do you want us to redo the ad hoc advisory committee? It does say that Any ad hoc committee formed will operate for such a time as needed to accomplish the assigned purpose and may be discharged after their recommendations to the board or at any other time at the discretion of the board. So we could authorize your committee. You could do this research. If you come back and say, you know what, we want to try this, or we're going to do it like this, or Robert's going to be in charge and I'm not going to do it anymore at all, then we can discharge the committee from our board. So what that would be,
Seems like it gives you the best of both.
yeah.
Have you run a 501c3?
Yeah, I set up this 501c3 for the SIOs and CBJ.
Oh, okay. So is it easier than it might sound? That's
So
always the impression I have.
does that work for you for now?
Yes,
Kind of
yes.
Personality and history.
But that gives you the best of both worlds, right? You can keep going and you can
And-
research
Yes.
and you guys can decide what the best answer is. Yeah. Cool.
I will set up a meeting shortly.
Well, I make a motion that we reestablish the fundraising committee with Lori and Darla as participants. Authorize them to go and find this information we need, and how to best proceed with fundraising.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the fundraising committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
I think we could skip marketing.
You want
Also,
to move that to next
the
one? Okay.
library is a 501c3.
Oh, good.
you.
Okay.
Friends of Malone is a little harder to find, I didn't find it.
Okay. We're gonna table 40.5 till next meeting. And on 40.6, board committees, I actually think that I'm gonna table that while I get a little bit more information. I got some information from SCAO just today and I need to follow up. However, since we're freeing up those 2 slots, let's talk about the treasurer secretary.
Did that not end up on?
I did not end up on here, so I think that it makes sense that if we're gonna table these 2 things,
Yeah,
that we
sure.
cover that.
40.5 and 40.6.
Table 7 if you really want to,
No,
for the
it's-
treasurer.
I just needed the titles here.
Do you want to talk about that? You want me
I want you to.
to? Okay, I would like to propose that we have a secretary treasurer on the board to work through the responsibilities that are in our policy document, which is really just oversight and overview. And I would propose that be Jeremy, because he's already doing some of these functions and he has some history with the treasurer's side.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
No, you're okay. I think she's making a motion.
that's a motion.
And normally, when you make a motion, so what I've learned is we do it a little bit backwards. Usually make a motion, then you talk
Then
about
you-
it, then you vote. Normally, we talk about it, then we make a motion, and then we vote. So we do, I think Darla just did it in the different order. So,
And so I called for some discussion and that is that in our, so I wasn't here in the working session. I don't know if you visited on that, but last meeting, there was some consideration for having a secretary and a treasurer.
mhm.
Yes.
And I know that, and I know Mark's not here, but he almost got voted secretary treasurer last time. And Jeremy, you're also up for grabs. You are doing the secretary work and very well, I'd say. I wonder how you feel about the separate. It seems like that's a lot on one person.
Mark had said he wasn't interested in secretary and
Yeah.
Jeremy was more interested in treasurer. So I think we'd end up with 2 people running for treasurer and no one running for secretary.
Mhm.
And at the time, we weren't sure.
I think you
Be
said you weren't
available.
interested in really having a position like that right now.
Not right.
Right. So we're
Doesn't
trying
that make it
to.
look fun, Maureen?
What, honey?
So-
Doesn't that make it look fun?
So I think the other thing is that, by combining the secretary treasurer role and then delegating the recording secretary part where that's someone doing the minutes. So whoever we vote for this role, they can delegate, find someone who will do the minute part. Because really the only real thing that I'm super familiar with is with the secretary is really about signing documents, signing the resolutions, because there's sometimes the secretary who signs, sometimes the chair signs. And then in addition, in the policy, it says that if the chair and the vice chair are unavailable for a quorum, the secretary is the president, Tim Poor. So by having an elected, so I just don't know that it's gonna be that much for one person.
Okay.
So did you have, do you,
No, let's move forward with your motion.
I think Jeremy's doing the task, and if you are interested in treasurer also.
I was really hoping that Mark would do, I mean, I would even be wanting to take notes for him, he likes signing checks. I did not want to put the treasurer on him because I know how limited his time is. And that was my big thing, is I've talked to him many times about time constraints. And I was rather surprised that he volunteered for that one because he really had trouble. with
Within
time.
moments of saying he was happy to not have anything on his plate anymore. And it turned around.
Yeah.
So I'll stay with my
you're making
motion
a
of,
motion for Jeremy?
yeah, for Jeremy.
I'll second your motion. So all in favor? Aye. Lori voted. Jeremy, it's all you.
It's you, Jeremy.
It's time for your radio thing.
No, I didn't turn that off.
And I believe these things can be adjusted as we go, right? It's
Yeah, if
not for
if
a time
yeah.
period.
We can choose to make changes if we need to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna abstain from that.
You
one.
cannot resign like at the next meeting. So you can add to the note, so Laura Lee can take the paperwork, those nasty people at the bank, your name, in that motion for the bank changes.
And your first role as treasurer will be to find a better bank.
Did you get the survey?
I meant to ask you.
What survey?
We all got surveys from
The banks
people's
and the
bank
survey.
asking
Were
us
they nice
about
to you?
like
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
I didn't
know.
get a survey.
Would you like a copy of it? I feel like sending it to everybody
Horrible.
twice.
They were rude. They were unhelpful. They were just terrible.
Did you go in and sign and it was good?
Yeah.
I don't know. We went in, or I went in end of the day. I don't know.
It was like 4:00 the day
Maybe
that
my
I
timing
went.
was just bad. But yeah, it was extremely rude.
So this is separate trips. It was
Separate trip,
rude
though.
And
And then Jeremy mentioned rude also. And then
You
even
two
Laura
did-
Lee said it wasn't the
My
easiest.
problem was just
Not
having
ideal.
vision. I mean, I complain about us being the Stone Age, which does bother me. They felt like they were in the Stone Age. I'm like, we had to go back there for multiple trips. They couldn't get their stuff straight. I mean, maybe this is the way it is. I do know that when you're dealing with Stone Age banking, which is really what it is, it's all this, I know how the back end works, it's really, really old. And sometimes they're dealing with laws that are 50 years old. And so,
Well, and it might be public law too. because-
yeah, maybe I'll call around all the banks and that's just the way it has to work, maybe, but it was miserable.
Pay for
Yeah.
signature price and all of that.
Not only that,
Yeah.
they got rid of everyone. I mean, we couldn't just go in and sign. They started like as if it was brand new.
And you couldn't go in and sign, you had to sign the first document and then wait for everybody to sign that first document before you can sign the second
And
one.
I thought that the first document was way too invasive of my personal
Yes, I
information.
agree with that one too.
So anyways. Moving on. Is there any oral requests from the audience? No? All right, Laura Lee, you're up.
Okay. I made a few notes here regarding the finances, so, September, I'm gonna look at I have a couple of copies. There's the balance sheet ones here, and then the general fund is there. And the September, as opposed to last September, was a little bit down as far as like,
That board, I took a hit.
where is it? Well, September, if you look at September and you look at September last year, our income from like lessons was down, but partly.
Wait, is that this?
Yeah,
It says July,
no,
September and July.
yeah, that's the year-to-date one. Anyways. So if you looked at September, it was down compared to last September, but year-to-date, we are running ahead. We're about over $14,000 for total revenue, based on where we were last year at this time. So that is really good
So-
news.
Wait a minute, so I can't tell that from this document.
Well,
Is there a document that shows that?
Is it on the website?
yeah, no, these are all the reports that you got. I just,
You emailed, them, right? Or
That-
you said
Tina
Tina,
did.
Yeah, I
yeah.
was thinking I saw.
I guess
Tina sent them.
you said September to
So
September and we
for
were doing
instance, like
better.
lesson income.
Yep.
We had, where is I printed off,
I did see that on.
anyways,
Email.
so the lesson income for this September was. Oh, I mean, it was,
Oh, that's, yeah, total admission. So it says
yeah,
6,400.
I don't think we were sent the kind of report. No, you guys get the 6 reports. I just printed off a couple to highlight a few things.
So what was your point? We don't have to look at it.
Well,
Yeah.
so my point was that even though like lesson income was down last year, or in lesson income than this current month for September, but overall,
Over the
we
summer.
were, well, I mean, year to date,
So July, August, September.
right, we're over $14,000 ahead of where we were last year. So that's really good.
Great.
Especially going into, this is our few months where we're living on fumes, especially October, because we don't get our property tax money until November.
Right.
And so it's always kind of, a little bit dicey, for August and September. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out was that our expenses were down compared to last year at this time. So that's another reason why, I think we're doing well. So,
It said you had $596 in rental income in September. What kind of rental?
rentals is the pool rentals.
From the school, from?
No, just random people renting the pool.
Okay, like a party thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
And I think it said on the door, school rental, so they rent. from
well,
us.
the school, that's a party. So,
Do they actually pay the rent? Oh.
yeah, I mean, they don't, we just charge them the admission price, like a student admission price
No.
for the school kids. So,
That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah, so anyways, and the other thing with lessons being down, lesson income for September, is we were closed a little bit longer this September than we were last year. So then that affects when we can start up lessons again. So anyways.
Oh, because the warm pool was down too, on top of the 2.
Yeah. So normally, like last year, I think we started lessons like probably like the 12th or 14th of September, whereas this year it was a week later. It was the 21st or,
Yeah.
So just having that week difference, affects.
Yeah, it's huge.
And lessons is still like one of our biggest revenue sources in our program revenue is lessons. So,
Have you, sorry, I will-
Okay, fine.
one thing for market. Have you talked to LBCC lately? They're looking for instructors and new class ideas. Would you be interested in the? Because we would get in their book, which I think is great.
yeah,
Taking a painting class at the senior center. They had 15 people, none of whom I had ever seen before. I'm like, this is amazing, because usually it's the same 10 people that you know and a couple extras. And they all came from the book.
yeah. I mean, maybe it just depends on like where we would put them.
Where you'd have to have enough water time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I'll volunteer to talk to them.
okay,
Do you talk to Neil or
I'll volunteer to talk to them. So-
to get paid?
no, I mean to find out. It's just,
Yeah, find out all the information.
a lot of times.
Oh, I was offering to do, I just didn't understand
okay,
your
sorry.
point. No, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Because that was gonna be one of the questions is how could we get it going? But Neil, something or other, what's the name? He's in the book. so
Yeah.
it's not a secret.
Well, and then just,
LBCC teaching classes here. We've done it in the past and Western Medical too, right? Or Northwest Comp, whatever we call them.
yeah,
But I know
Well,
the
I
problem
mean,
is
they-
capacity.
yeah, because a lot of people want, oh, I want a 5 o'clock aqua jogging class, and it's like, well, we have swim team there.
Right,
Or,
right.
you know, so that's always been the struggle,
Yeah.
is trying to figure out. Did get the balance sheet, but, and I looked at last year's balance sheet and, for our total assets for September was 445,000 and change. And that is higher than it was last year at this time, so. Anyways,
How much was last year?
well,
Or do you have it?
I didn't print it off.
Oh, that's okay.
And then the other thing I wanted, is there any other questions? I mean, do you want to discuss more?
I'm,
On the finance part,
Yeah. I mean, we spent less than we did last September. We made more than we did, like overall.
I was going through the finances this last month. I remember there were a couple of areas that I was having trouble figuring it out. So I hadn't actually gotten around to it, but I was thinking about emailing you and Tina to see if we could maybe break out a category or something, to make it easier for me to read.
ta-da, your official capacity,
Right.
first act. Email Laura Lee as the treasurer,
But I have
ask
not
your
had time to
question.
do it, so. I can have it very quickly.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that the ORPA, which is the Oregon Recreation and Park Association, their conference is this week. And all their like aquatic centered workshops and stuff is on Wednesday. So I'm gonna be going to Sun River for Wednesday to the ORPA conference, just for that one day.
Nice.
And then, also I'd mentioned that Jason with Reamer Construction, like he's the one that sent us that budget quote.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna, be getting some dates from him and I'll send them out to you guys to set up a meeting with him, so.
So maybe November, you were saying?
Well, yeah, cause he was just getting back from Peru
Mhm.
and then, we're already
That
at the
just
end of
sounds
the month.
so cool, doesn't it? Getting
So-
back.
So, you had said when we were talking about this, that this was a budget quote. So why couldn't we just ask for the RFP with the breakdown in it?
Well, we can, but we're not at that point yet. I mean, when you go out for a request for proposal, then there's a whole process to that. And so generally what you do is you get like a ballpark from, like we know, the good data is it's gonna be somewhere, if we all did all those 4 things, it's gonna be 750 to maybe 850,000. And so then if we wanted to do those 4 things, then we put out a request for proposal. And then, then we accept sealed bids for, okay, we want to do these 3 or 4 things of this project. And then, you build into your request how specific you want it to be. Like maybe you're gonna put in there, we want people that have
had 10 years experience in pool projects or whatever. So then that's gonna eliminate some of the people that might try bidding on it. And then, of course, it goes out and then you have to publicize it and then you get bids coming in. And then, then you guys can pick who you want.
And we
But-
might want to wait a minute until we figure out this federal funding thing, because there's a couple just perfect grants.
Still got it, David. I was gonna ask.
Oh, yes, we can, certainly.
Is there any way that list you sent me about a year ago, or the projects, could you resend that out to us with any updates that might be needed, all the things that have to be done? So we can kind of start to digest this.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, these four things, like, they haven't changed. But as things age and, and keep getting older, then obviously there's gonna be more things coming on the list.
Like you said, the boiler wasn't even on the list.
Right.
That's the thing.
But you
Yeah.
gotta start somewhere.
Well, just like the roof, I mean, well, like Osborne, okay, I
Right.
mean, it's this whole year,
Oh, my word.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it was over the offices, it wasn't even over the pool.
I don't know, I think it was more than just one area, but,
Yeah, it was, but at least whatever.
but anyways, yeah, I mean, it's a huge blow to them, and that was completely unforeseen. So sometimes stuff like that happens.
Is that Corvallis?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what are we doing to try to accumulate some of that business?
Well, I mean, if somebody wants to drive over here, for sure, they can, but I know for like high school swimming, like we had scheduled some meets over there, like our dual meet this year was supposed to be over there, but obviously it's gonna be here.
Good.
So,
Also,
but that doesn't make revenue for us,
Oh, the high school.
high school stuff. Yeah.
Special Olympics was to have their regional championships there,
Did the Y get that?
like right about next week at Osborne. We have traditionally done it at Osborne, and now we're moved a little later into Newburgh.
Oh, Newburgh.
That's a good
So
pool.
not, yeah, that
I've
is
never
nice.
been there, so
Feel
that
like
would be
it.
something.
Very nice.
It's really nice.
They were cooking Saturday morning. I drove through their parking lot. They don't open the pool for general use till 1 o'clock. There was not a parking spot for blocks.
Doing a
Oh,
They're doing a
breakfast?
swim meet lessons and they had a swimsuit sale going on that probably had 50 people deep in lines. It's just crazy. Yeah.
You weren't at that meet, right?
Dallas did a swimsuit sale while I was there last weekend, and it's a big hit.
Yeah,
Dallas.
just huge. I couldn't believe it. We used to do them here, but we never got
Yeah.
the big turnout, but they had all kinds of people. I don't know if it was all swimmers. or
It's probably all
public.
swimmers.
Yeah.
Like 80-90%.
This is good. All right. Facility, do you have any facility updates?
No, I mean, knock on wood.
Yeah.
There's no wood around.
For the refrigerator's doing weird things. but-
Well, I mean, it supposedly conked out during our closure and then I plugged it back in after a couple days and it's been fine ever since, so I don't know.
I
Yeah.
know, it's cycling.
So are there any director remarks today? No?
I'm good. Thank you
Is there
for
anything
putting up with all
from-
the questions.
I asked for that email, the updated list of
Project or
projects. Is there anything else that we can, other than kicking things off for another month, is there anything else we can get working on this month?
Well, we can keep looking or writing down, or if you guys look at the working goals document and you want to, you can email me.
Okay. I'll
That's a
email
good
you any
idea.
ideas or
Yep,
updates we have for
that you
that.
want to add, thoughts you might have. Again, it's a working document. It's very fluid. We can add things, we can talk about them, we can see.
Yeah, I love what you've
What we
got here
wanna
so
do.
far. I would definitely like to get this
So hopefully
as more.
by
cohesive
December or
document for us.
January, we can get it in, get what we want in and have a board.
Retreat?
No,
something.
yeah, we could do a retreat to
Yeah.
talk about it, or we can, I want to get it voted on and have
Yeah.
it be an actual board document.
Love this retreat idea, don't
I know, I like it. I started to say marketing ideas, but I don't know how do you want to, like in the working sessions, talk about that too, or you want to?
Oh, sure, though.
Do you think you'll be able to come to the next working session?
I will try.
Okay.
And it's gonna be at 5.
Same, next week.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is, I wouldn't rule it out.
I won't be here next meeting.
Oh, that's right. Weren't we gonna move it because you're gonna be traveling?
I don't
You won't be
know.
here for the
I
board
just
meeting?
won't be here for the board meeting.
Oh, that's new, right? I thought. you were
I
gonna
have to
here
be
for
at a
the-
different meeting.
Oh,
a vote.
oh, I thought it was your travel.
No, it's the same. My travel's not till,
Is that the 11th,
week
November
before.
11th?
No, it's the 18th.
yeah, the
We
18th.
moved it?
I'll be gone no, we didn't move it. I'll be gone the week of the 11th. I'll be in Florida, but on the 18th, I'm a duly elected official. In my other position, I have a
Oh, okay.
vote that I have to be at, so.
Okay, I will, these guys will be patient, hopefully. I'll try to figure it out.
But we can meet with Laura Lee.
Yeah,
Technically, I have jury duty that day, so we'll see.
Lucky you. I
Very
love
low
jury
chance.
duty. It's my favorite thing. Love
Very,
jury
very low
duty.
chance I'll be gone, but who knows?
So, let's see, the 18th, so Laura Lee, you're gonna wanna put it by the 11th or 12th?
and you're gonna be gone, so we were gonna get together on the
7th. Oh, did we already
Sixth,
make it? We
yeah.
already made a time.
Right,
Okay, the 6th, that's right, duh. Okay, I forgot.
Okay, but we're still doing the 5 PM working on the 18th,
I know,
or do
you're
we
both-
wait,
What's the
do
6th
it.
then?
December?
No, that's just us meeting with
Oh,
Laura Lee. But could we do? Let me go back to my calendar. Lori, are you opposed to a working session on a day that's not a board meeting day?
No.
Is-
I mean, sure.
Right, right. I'm trying to think, I'm gonna be gone though.
because next week's Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
You're
the
gone
next
that
is
whole
Thanks-
week?
I'm gone the whole week of the 11th,
Oh, week of the 18th?
no, the 11th, but if we do
Right.
it after, then we're doing it after the board meeting. Not that
Does
it
that matter?
matters,
I don't think it.
not that it really matters, but yeah, because.
Or we, as Laura Lee said, we can just do December, give everybody a chance to digest what we're talking about. I wish we could do things by email. I know we can send out informational, but a lot of this is just, here's a list of ideas.
Right, right.
I guess if no one responds, is that okay? Like you just send it out to the ether and then,
Or you can always send it to Laura Lee and say, please send us on as informational.
Well, still, either way, we can send informational emails too, we
I
just
know.
can't.
Depends on how far removed you want to be from it.
Right, right.
I'll think about it. We can send an email out.
Yeah.
and Pick a date.
Yeah, let me think about the working session, Laura Lee. I was trying to think if I came to the working session, but I have to be in Albany at 6. And I know you and I could move up the working session to like on the 18th. So I was gonna say we could move it up to like 4.
Yeah.
Or 4:30, but Jeremy can't do
Mm.
early like that on that day. So let me think about it and I'll let you know what we're gonna do for next month. I really don't, I hate missing. I do. That is so important. Yeah, so we're just gonna have to figure it out.
Okay. I
There you go.
move
I think we're
we
good.
adjourn.
Yeah.
Want to second that motion?
Second.
Okay, we have adjournment and a second. Everybody in favor? Aye.
Aye.